Um, this is a pretty standard crack. Fiberglass tub, definitely soft. You can see a water line here, and then you've got some cracking kind of right along here, and then some spiderweb cracking back in here. It's actually a little soft, so we're gonna back this up a little bit, try to make sure we get it where we need it. That's okay. All right, so definitely a crack there, definitely soft back here, and then it firms up. So we've got kind of a weak area right here. You can see where it's low. Actually, water. Drill some holes. We're gonna fill up that soft area there, and you know, looking at this tub, it does look like it sits up a little high. So I do expect the deep layer gap to be fairly deep, maybe 3 inches, but we'll see. And then I've dealt with these showers before. This is a standard one-piece tub shower surround, and these are fiberglass, and so quite common to have a shallow layer gap in here as well. So we're gonna get that going. And there's a little soft spot right there. Actually, I'm gonna get that filled in too. This is actually gonna be quite a wide repair. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna just cut off this end of the crack here. And watch as I'm drilling. I'm gonna go slow, and then we're gonna look for shallow layer gap, and then we're gonna look for the deep layer gap. So first I'll just go slow. Yeah, so as you're doing that, you see how it's pressing down, and then you'll see that floor kind of release up when you get through the shower floor, and there is a shallow layer gap just right there. It's not very deep, you know, 1/4 inch deep, but there is definitely a gap, so I'm gonna be aware of that. But I'm gonna go ahead and take this one to the deep layer. Kind of went through there, and I knew it was gonna be deep. So let's see how deep it is. Real quick here. So I just want to check and see. Yeah, okay, so that's what I figured. You know, that's about 3 inches deep. So yeah. So that's a fairly deep one, and I can tell from looking at the outside, this tub sets up. It'd be hard for me to show you on the camera, but as I'm looking at it, I can tell there's going to be, it's a deeper one. But the big thing is, and kind of what causes this dip here, is that shallow layer gap. So probably what's happened is that support board underneath there, a lot of times they piece these things in here, and it's probably maybe one of the joints. And anyway, so that support board is, there's a shallow layer gap there too, which is really probably what causes generally the crack to form, is that shallow layer gap, because then you only have like gel coat and just a little bit of fiberglass. So anyway, so I'm going to get some foam down in there here in a minute, but I'm going to drill some more holes first, and then we'll get some foam underneath there. I'm going to go to the other end of this crack, and I'm just cutting off the major cracks. You've got some spider webbing here, but I'm just going to cut off this major crack. Okay, and you can see that's shallow layer support there, so we're going to fill that in. I'm going to go ahead and take this one to the deep layer too. Okay, and that's the same thing, I'm sure, yeah. So about 3 inches down to the shallow support, or the deep to the subfloor. So that's probably about all I'm gonna need really to get this kind of filled in. I might go over here, and we'll just put one more deep hole kind of over here. And see, we definitely got some shallow issues, so I'll fix those as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go deep layer there, and then go ahead and go deeper over. Okay, and that one did not have as much shallow layer gap, so it's definitely a shallow layer problem right there. So we've got deep, 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 and then I think what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a shallow one here, and then a shallow one there, and that should be plenty. Oh, see, I popped through that. Okay, this one I actually don't go all the way through. So it's not going to mess it up, but I do want to stop in that shallow layer gap. So I'm gonna go real slow here. Okay, see how I stopped there? If you go through, it's hard to get that shallow layer filled. So not a very wide area, so you know, one can is probably going to do just fine. It's a little deep, but not very wide, so that's good. And then I am going to look up here, and I'm probably going to address just a little spot up here. It does seem to have just a little shallow layer problem right there. But anyway, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get down in here, feel that bottom, and I'm just going to bring it up a little bit and get some foam down in there. And I'm just going to kind of spread this first can out pretty evenly throughout the holes. You know, I'm about halfway through the can right now. Okay, so I've got about a quarter of a can left. And so what I'm going to do, see, now that's where you start in the shallow layer gap. That's where you start to see it kind of come spreading out there. Now this one didn't have much of a gap in it, so I'm not surprised I'm not seeing much foam come through there. But all the other holes, I knew that it would. So I'm just gonna make sure we got good coverage in all those shallow layer gaps. You know, and that's now I'm going to go ahead and put some back in the deep layer. Make sure our deep layer gap is nice and, you know, filled out there. And one can of foam, that's going to go quite a ways. Okay. So that is one can of foam. Now, that I would not want to put 2 cans of foam down here. That would be too much foam for that area. 2 cans of foam, it's only 3 inches deep. I do think 1 can of foam is going to be fine, but I've got a spot. Let's see if I can get the camera on it. I do have a spot right here. There's just a hairline crack, and then I can press on it. And I see where it's got a little bit of a weak spot just right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine my holes. Let's see if you can see this little crack right there. So it's firm back behind it, but then in front of it, it's just got a little bit of give to it. So that's what's causing that crack, is there's some sort of a pressure point right here, and it's probably the support board's strong here. And here it's kind of broke away, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one hole, and I'm actually going to kind of combine. Actually, I might do 2 holes side by side here, and we're just going to see, go real slow. We're going to feel for shallow layer support. Okay, barely, but what you look for is when you're going through there, as you're drilling it, you're gonna see that floor kind of press down, And then when you get through the shower floor, you're gonna see that floor kind of pop up and it'll release that pressure, but you'll still be hitting the support board. So that lets you know, okay, there is a gap there that needs to be filled if you see that floor kind of given like that. So I'm gonna do another one over here. And this is really just to allow the foam to spread and release pressure. Okay, now I know I did 2 shallows here, and I'll take one of these and make them deep here in a second. But first, I want to go just like short a straw here, so must have dropped it in the bag or something. Ooh. Okay, so any kind of foam that you get on the tub or anything, just let that cure. Don't touch it, and it's gonna set up, and then you can just pop it right off of there. So if you try to clean it up now, it's just gonna be a lot more of a pain in the butt. So anyway, we got 2 shallow layer holes here, and it's not much of a gap at all. Like it could be a 1/16 of an inch. But you see, it's there because I can see it coming through and it's spreading. So I'm just gonna make sure we get that filled up, which it seems to be. And that's just releasing pressure through there. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, like I said, I'm gonna take one of these and I'm gonna take it deep. That way I know we've got support underneath it and it's not gonna be a whole can or anything. Okay. Now I'm gonna go all the way. So you find that bottom. I'm just gonna get some support down under here. And it's a big gap, so it's gonna spread, but it'll press that area and get some support underneath there. And that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that be. I might actually, yeah, I'm gonna leave that be. You don't want to over foam it, and 2 cans of foam is quite a bit, especially only a 3-inch gap. So if you watch in our demonstration, you'll see like 2 cans of foam, it'll get about 6 inches, 7 inches tall, and it'll get very wide. So I've got plenty of foam down here. It's about 1 1/3 of a can, mostly 1 can under here, about 1/3 of a can down in here. I'm just gonna let that set up. We're gonna go away. Actually, this is the end of the day, so sometimes I will get a foam in at the end of the day and then come back the next day and go ahead and make the repair. So part 2 tomorrow, we'll see the setup foam. We'll go ahead and make the repair and finish this out. So let us know if you have any questions, but for now I'm just gonna leave this be. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll actually get into the actual repair. So thanks for joining us, and until tomorrow.